All right, I have the kids. I got 3 kids, and I have a wonderful wife who made breakfast for you before she goes to exercise. And my youngest does not like the food that is on the table. You are not grateful for the food that Mama made. Y'all have a wonderful mother.
You do.
Yeah.
And also the best mama.
The best mama. So, I'm gonna make a video. Daddy's the best daddy? Well, I can say Mama's the best mama because I've met a lot of women. But you guys, haven't met a lot of daddies. All right. So let me know if you need anything. I'm trying to just make a little video for the internet. Yeah. Because there's a guy who goes by the name GrimGriz, and he gave me some attention and some feedback. And when people give you feedback, it's very valuable. It means they care. And it's an opportunity to learn. What do you want to eat? You want mac and cheese for breakfast? How about ice cream for breakfast? Yeah? Yeah, we're not doing ice cream for breakfast. This is a pretty healthy breakfast. What we got? We got some, is this turkey? That's good. What, we got a blueberry? That's good. Oh, look. Jelly toast. Mm-hmm. I think it's a good breakfast. Pepperoni and turkey on your Subway sandwich? Yeah.
You eat meatballs, Daddy.
I like to eat meatballs. So,
And I don't know what I get, but it's yummy.
I'm going to listen to GrimGriz. All right, GrimGriz. And it's about my origin story. And the chapters are necromancy, sacrifices, sorcery, delusion, injustice, dream works, shamanism, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and technology.
I think you might have the order of importance messed up there. And why are you coming at us looking like you just got a booster shot?
So, GrimGriz is a very good writer, and maybe he could explain why the order is wrong and how it could be better. I just kind of started with the story with my ancestors, and it was meant as something my children could read, and people in my offspring and my grandchildren and whatnot could read to know about the characters and the experiences that stand out. And it's kind of chronological. Yeah. So there's like a chronological history, and there's points, and then there's something after that that has religious views, right? And technology is the religious view that I've settled on over Islam and Christianity and Judaism, for example. So feedback on the importance of things is like, it's good, but it also reveals your own religion, right? That your hierarchy of values is your religion. And so GrimGriz has an idea about what the proper hierarchy is, and I have an idea. We all have different ideas, and so we could actually we could list out, our values and put them in order of importance and try to do that. And I put technology way up. So that would be a good way to know the other person, right? And it's not a matter of who's right and who's wrong. It's a matter of who are you on your path right now. Like, and if you're actually going in the right direction, that hierarchy of values should change over time if you are learning and growing. So,
Do you want me to show you something?
and the strange situation I find myself in is that I am a person who has met Jesus. I've met dead people. I've had the experiences which prove.
Like, you mean on mushroom trips, or in your dreams, or on a mountain in Sinai? Can you be more specific?
So I don't understand why I would need to be more specific. I can guess though that is it like is the experience more legitimate if fill in the blank, right? Does it matter, right? What should matter is, for example, if you see into the future and the future happens according to the vision and it maps. Or if, for example, you see, you meet someone who died, and then in the dream there were details about the person that you learned that you couldn't have learned otherwise, right? So those kinds of, you can have those experiences, but how do you have them? Why is that important? I mean, it is important because, for example, if you use an illegal plant in order to access this information and practice this religion, and the government makes that plant illegal, then it would indicate that the theocracy, the government with its theology, is in opposition to the true religion, right? The religion which allows you to know the truth. That's what. That's how this thing has manifested. So there are important details, but I tried to keep it short, and it would be in my book, the book of Tarzan. My father wanted to name me Tarzan. So the plan would be that I'm referencing a book that gets created, and insight and feedback from GrimGriz and others would be helpful. That I have met dead people, and I've also been able to see into the future. I've had the experience that proves that I can see into the future.
No. No, at best, you have an experience that proves you have seen into the future, not that you are currently capable thereof. And what are the fruits of these special visitations?
Right. So there would be a practicing of the religion, right? If it was legal, which it's not, and if it was encouraged, which it's not, there could be a school in which we practice the religion such that we get better at producing good fruit by having access to information that we currently don't have access to, right? So yeah, I mean, I think the point is legitimate. Like, do I always see the future, and do I always see dead people? No. That would be a terrible experience. You would not be able to actually participate. So there's probably a certain kind of frequency in which you would want this to happen, when relevant, such that there is the most amount of good fruit produced. And I actually think there can be a science behind it. Like, there can be a science by which you methodically improve the way in which you practice the religion such that you produce more good fruit. And so because I've done it, I know it can be done, and I know that the nature of reality is such that it can be done, and that people like me are capable. And maybe I'll never do it again. But the point would be that people can do it, and we can actually be interested in the science by which we get access to this information which can produce good fruit, like making sure that someone doesn't die or that we avoid property damage, right? That would be nice. We might also figure out the cause of death for people, like instead of the narrative that was told by the people in positions of power and authority who are illegitimate, right? Who have gotten into those positions in illegitimate ways. So, like, the application of the science and technology, which allows us to see across space-time, is unlimited. The number of applications are unlimited, and we can produce very good fruit by learning who we should be electing into positions of power and influence, figuring out who the bad actors are. So that's the thing the CIA isn't doing, that the agency should be doing, is not only identifying bad actors and preventing bad actions, but also identifying good actors and facilitating good actions. So you are increasing productivity, the amount of good fruit. Good question, sir.
What are the fruits?
I've had the experiences to witness the sorcery that's going on. I met Satan. I met the ruler of this world. I met some being who's claimed to walk, like, been walking the
Now that story I haven't heard yet, but the ruler of the world one was totally a dream. Totally a dream.
earth. Right, so you could dismiss things, right? Yeah, you could dismiss dreams, you could dismiss experiences using plants. But it's interesting that you would dismiss those but uphold something else, like a book created by Satan, for example, right? That's what's interesting to me, is what we choose to have faith in, right? Are we going to have faith in this book that we assume has value? Where do we place our faith? Since before the time of Noah, but and so the guy I met who claimed to be walking the earth since before the time of Noah was that I think it was like my 30th birthday, and I was like, 30 years old seems like a good time to get baptized and invite the Holy Spirit, right? You should be 35 years old to be president of the United States. Maybe you should be 30 years old before you invite the Holy Spirit into you. That way you have a good frame of reference about what life was like before that. So you can have sympathy, right, for people who don't know about the Holy Spirit. So, yeah, on my 30th birthday, that would have been in the year 2014, so December 21st, 2014, went into the cold waters and baptized myself. And when we were going up, this was my birthday party basically, at the river, and we were hanging out, and a guy shows up. He's got a gun on his hip, and he was warning about how dangerous the river can be, for women and children. And but he said that he had been walking around the earth since before the time of Noah. And it's like, yeah. So here I am, a person say, well, I'm trying to be the Messiah. Maybe I'll be the Messiah by 2040. I'm looking for people who are trying, things like that. And this guy says that. And when people say these things, it's a proclamation. And you can have faith. And you can have the faith that, for example, you could say, I have faith that man was crazy. Or you could say, I have faith that Gavin Tarzan is crazy, or has lost his mind, or something like that. And what does that mean? And you have faith in what that means. And so be careful about the faith that you have. Faith is powerful. And then I've also got these huge claims, like I know how to fix government, I know how to fix the justice system, I know how to fix the education system. I've got solutions for all of this stuff to fix education. Let's see what Eve has to say. All fine, dear GrimGriz, just checking in on the quotient of arrogance and rudeness on this holy day. the quotient of arrogance and rudeness on this holy day. Like, I wonder, like, it's the faith thing again. Like, do you, at some point, there's a judgment in the mind, and there's a judgment of rudeness, arrogance, right? It's like, well, that's faith. As soon as you have that judgment, so yeah, just be careful with your judgments. Education system. I've got solutions for all of this stuff.
But is implementing those solutions within your capacity of care, or are you solving problems outside the scope of your agency?
Yeah, and the thing is these problems are outside of every individual's capacity for care, and requires that people work together. Like, the way this thing was created is that no individual can do it by themselves, and it is by definition outside of any individual's capacity for care, which means that not only do we as individuals have to have like faith that we can do these things, we have to also have the understanding that we depend on the faith of others as well, that we can do these things. So it is outside of my capacity to care. It is not outside of our capacity to care together. So, yeah, I mean, good point, sir. I know the path we need to be on in order to resurrect the dead.
Why would we want to do that?
And we've talked about this before. It would be nice, for example, if you wrote down, and you got it on record that you are interested in being resurrected. But, when you use the path is that we use science and technology with these mind-altering experiences that allow us to tap into information across space and time. Then we could, for example, we can identify people who very clearly did the prayer, for example, that says, I want to be reborn into the kingdom, or something like, I want to help create the kingdom of heaven on earth, right? So I know there are people like that who want to participate. We just don't have the science and technology that allows us to identify those people. I mean, we could start by, for example, I could say, hey, this is on record. I am cool with being resurrected, and I am wanting to help create the kingdom. So there's my proclamation, right? And similar people could have made the same proclamation to God, for example, to the Akashic record or the hard drive in this reality we're in, where all information is stored. And we could then access that information to know who's actually interested in being resurrected, right? And it's a fair point. Not everybody wants to be resurrected, but maybe they would want to be resurrected with a new body that is without the sickness and the disease, right? That's able to do things, right? And that's the question. Like, you could make that proclamation with all the conditions, right? I wasn't very clear about how I want to be resurrected, but if you have the right technology, you could know what's in my mind when I say I want to be resurrected. Like,
Why? Let them rest.
see, why? It's because there are people who want to be resurrected, right? So that's the question, is whether they wanted to be resurrected or not. And so if you want to be resurrected, then it seems fair that you would be resurrected. And if you didn't want to be resurrected, I would be okay too. You're all done? Good job. I'll eat this one. So may I have it?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So what could happen is that we travel into the subconscious mind right as the person's dying and say, hey, do you want to go to heaven where you get this new body? And then we do it. And we might even say, hey, do you want to be resurrected to help create heaven? You'll get a new body, but we'll have a lot of work to do. Like, we can do that as well. Like, that's the path that we could be on if we weren't being controlled by Satan, right? We could actually, legalize growing plants that allow us to tap into this information. We could study people as they dream. We could take dreams seriously and visions seriously, and yeah, we could do that, but we don't. But we could. And then I can go into a group of people who call themselves Jews, and say, hey, I might be the Messiah. I'm interested in looking for the Messiah seriously, and it seems that I'm disregarded. I go into a group.
Well, the thing of it is, one.
You need to wipe your face? Okay, you wipe your face with your shirt. That's one way to do it. I love you.
One of the things you should know about being the Messiah is he doesn't go around saying, hey guys, I think I'm the Messiah.
So, I mean, this is the thing, is GrimGriz the Messiah, right? And so, if he believes he is, then he believes that he doesn't go around saying it, right? That's one take. Or perhaps there's a story that he worships, that is a vessel of worth, and it attempts to explain what the Messiah is. And then you have to ask these questions: was Satan influencing the minds? Was Satan influencing the minds of GrimGriz with the belief? And was it through dreams? And what was it through? And was it through other people? Or was it through the books and the stories that we worship? So you have to be really careful about where you place your faith. And so are you placing your faith in a story that was created by humans who were influenced by Satan? Right? That's what you have to be careful about.
I mean, I don't know if there's a specific scripture that says he doesn't do that, but it's just, we all kind of know.
Right. So, that's the question, right? So if we actually had the science and technology, we could go travel through space-time, right? And we would, and ideally, the way I imagine this working is that humans who can be trusted become empowered to do this activity, right? I actually think that's the way it works. So you have to be the kind of person who can do it. And we can have the science to identify those kinds of people. And then those trustworthy people can be asked questions like, well, what actually happened, right? And so you no longer need to trust the story, which may have been corrupted by untrustworthy people who are influenced by Satan. You could then go to people who are alive today who have proven their trustworthiness and ask them about the story, right? And the truth is, I don't know. When I met Jesus, he didn't say anything. I think there was a language barrier, but he showed me with his actions his nature, right? And so his nature is that he's willing to face his death and suffering and torture with love in his heart. He had some despair. He was disappointed, but there was no hate and no anger. And then the next one was that he was standing in a garden, and it was something about getting your hands dirty in the garden, right? And honestly, that's what I don't know if Jesus was resurrected from the dead or not. I've met Jesus, and he did not convey that message, and I do not know if Jesus went around saying, "Shh, don't tell anybody." Right? I don't know. But I do know that Satan is powerful, very powerful. And so the idea that Jesus met Satan and was shown Satan's kingdom, I can believe that because I was shown that. And it's because of Satan that Jesus was crucified. Well, I say crucified. I didn't see him get crucified. I saw him being tortured. And I would say that's because of Satan that he was tortured. And yeah, I'll just stop talking. Go ahead.
That's not how it works. Now when Jesus is confronted about who he is, he's got some choice answers, but I don't think he goes around advertising, hey guys.
So just keep in mind that it is, like, it's very, here's the part where if you try to seek out the living Messiah who's actually trying to create peace on earth and wondering, like, and then trying to play with it, you run the experiment. So, like, okay, I'm going to experiment with the ways of being which a Messiah might try out, and you're going to learn. The proposal here is that you should not be raising your hand saying, "Hey, I'm the one who's trying, and I'm interested in finding others who are trying." Like, so if you do that, like if you think that you should just not do that, what that means is that people can easily ignore the Messiah. And it seems to me that we've always had people who are candidates for the Messiah, and the only way you become a Messiah is if enough other people have faith, right? So you have individuals who can have faith and try and learn. I know this is true because I've done it. And then it just depends on the faith of others as well. Oh man, I feel the energy over there. I might need to pause. I don't know if you want to listen to this. I'll pause. Hey. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? Do you cry to get what you want? Yeah, you cry to get what you want. What do you want? You want to win? Yeah, you like winning? I like winning too. You know, you have to learn how to lose too. Sometimes you have to lose. Hey, I like winning. When you like winning though, it makes it hard to lose. When you lose, you let him win. You let the other person win and they get a chance to win. How many times has Webster got to win? He got to win 3 times? Webster, are you winning anything?
No, I'm not winning anything, but I just never let Clover win because I like winning.
Well, you know, I like to let y'all win when I play. You got to let the other person win sometimes, or it's just you're not going to play together. You're not going to enjoy it.
But I enjoy it.
But you won't be able to continue playing the game unless you allow the other person to win sometimes.
But Clover concedes. Oh, and the only game that she wins is Mario Party and Wii Sports. And this is Wii Play.
Hey, Webster, take turns, buddy. Hey, take turns, okay? Please. Please take turns. So that's that.
Hey, Clover.
It's difficult. Let's see. Where was I? Oh. Well, I was trying to be a father. Trying.
Would you
And
Clover, would you like to play Wii Sports instead?
GrimGriz was trying to
But on this game, I always
point out that the belief that many people have that the Messiah should not actually say, "Hey, I'm the Messiah." And I want to point out, I'm not saying, "Hey," I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm trying to be the Messiah. It's like I've got like 20-year plan. Maybe I'll be the Messiah by 2040, right? And so like what that does is it means that that's my goal. And there's things about me, like I try to be honest. So I'll tell you my goal, I tell you what I value, and then I also admit that, and I even hope that there are others who can do it better than me. And so for me to then have the courage to say I'm trying to be the Messiah, that means I'm learning the things that a Messiah should learn, and it means I should be able to spot the Messiah better than anyone else, right? So, and I just say be careful about what you believe, because if you believe that a Messiah should not raise their hand, that makes it very hard for me to find the Messiah, right? It makes it very hard for me to find the Messiah if the Messiah should not raise their hand and say, hey, I'm over here. I'm ready to create peace on earth, right? So it's a good trick if you're the enemy. Like imagine that there's a war, and the ones who are best able to be the general in the war have been peer pressured into keeping their hands down and looking around. And it's like, if only, right? So just be really careful with your beliefs. The faith is needed, and it's not just the faith of the person, it's also the faith of others. If the President of the United States does not have enough other people with faith that the President is LARPing as the President, then the LARP just doesn't work. So you have to have faith of the person who's doing the LARP, and you have to have faith of the people who are also agreeing that this LARP is okay. Like, can we at least agree that it's okay for someone to say, I'm trying to be the Messiah, and I'm looking for other people who are trying to be the Messiah? Like, what's wrong with that LARP? And then, yeah, I mean, can we not just have a little bit of faith in that? And does it mean that I have to get you to, like, this is the reason I like the Jews, right? Is because they aren't plagued with a belief that that the story of Jesus shows us a proper Messiah. That's the reason I like the Jews, because they aren't plagued with that belief. And so the people who say Jesus is the Messiah, that's the, and I should say, I just honestly, when I baptized myself, I asked for Jesus to help, right? So, you know, Jesus is important to my story, but be very careful of what you believe, because Satan is the ruler of this world. Christians say things like this and get disregarded. Muslims. I can go to different political parties, I can go to different religions, and I can say, hey, it seems like you would be interested in participating in the story we find ourselves in with characters, valuable characters, who are in these books that you worship, like idolatry. You worship these texts, these words. And it seems like you would want to participate with the characters who are alive here and now, who can do the things that the people in those books could do. And I don't.
Okay, I no Messiah story I'm aware of. Does the Messiah go around saying, "Notice me, senpai"?
Right. So just notice that your view and your faith, your beliefs, notice them and say, are those good beliefs? Right? And we should have a conversation about that. Like, what are the risks of the belief that the Messiah should not be raising their hand and saying, hey, let's do it? What is the risk? Yeah, what's the risk of having a belief that the Messiah should not do that compared with, and that you do risks and benefits? What's the risk and benefits of the Messiah not raising up their hand And what are the risks and benefits of the Messiah raising their hand? Practically speaking, right? If you just run the experiment, what happens? And you have to ignore like upholding some story and having faith in some story and take a step back and say, okay, what's the risks and the benefits of believing this story? And then you might find, which is what I'm suspicious about, is that Satan has tricked us into believing the thing which prevents the Messiah from rising to power. And I'm not even saying I'm the Messiah, right? This is just me trying to be the Messiah and running the experiments. It's what I'm noticing, is that the ruler of this world has set it up against the possibility of the Messiah emerging, right? So it's very convenient for the enemy, this belief that GrimGriz is pointing at. And I'm not even saying GrimGriz has the belief, but many people do. So it's valuable feedback, right?
I'm enjoying all this name dropping from Gavin. Satan is, in particular, is a juicy one. I don't know about the juiciness of Satan, but I'll take your word for it. Ba-dum-bum.
I don't find a lot of interest. Yeah, just find something else to do for now, buddy. Name dropping. Well, I mean, it is what it is. The book of Job talks about Satan, the adversary, the Elohim. Those first 3-4 chapters of Job is worth investigating, because to me it reveals it reveals the situation to some degree, the situation we find ourselves in this story, where we have a antagonist, and a very, very powerful antagonist. So, but yeah, I mean, someone who says that they met Satan, how do you treat them? Yeah, that's the question. Do you disregard them? And I'm glad that I'm grateful that Griswold Grimm has not disregarded me. Is voicing the skepticism and concerns of the audience. And he has a larger audience. Like, I'd be cool with people with more audience pointing out this crazy guy whose father wanted to name him Tarzan, right? And the religion's called Tarzanism. My dad wanted to start a religion. My father wanted to start a religion called Tarzanism, and wanted to name me Tarzan. So that's kind of strange. All right. There's not a lot of people interested in trying to create the kingdom of heaven. And it's okay. Everybody's on a path. But what I can do is if you're serious about trying to be a righteous person, trying to be a prophet, trying to be a Messiah, if you're interested in trying to...
If you're interested in trying, you're already having to deal with the belief that you are not.
So I don't know how much GrimGriz actually believes that, right? Because we were born naked and dependent on others. All of us were, and so could not comprehend language and could not use language. Our vocabulary was limited to cries, and it's like, is the baby the Messiah, right? Or is it just a matter was Joe Biden the president when he was born? Was Joe Biden the president when he was in high school? Right? So that's the thing. Where does this belief come from that you are born the Messiah? Where did that come from? Seriously ask yourself what story you believe where you believe that people are born like predetermined, like they were the Messiah when they were, you know, imagine the things that kids do, and and say, and then ask yourself, can the Messiah do the things that kids do? Like, that's I'm just very skeptical of this belief. Like, I am not the Messiah. I know that, but do I believe that I can't become the Messiah? And I know that Messiah is not here, but do I believe that there isn't someone on earth who couldn't become the Messiah? Like, I'm hearing a belief from GrimGriz that I'm sure other people share, that for somehow the Messiah pops into this world, right? The portal opens in the sky and Messiah, boom, just appears, right? Where'd that belief come from? And yeah, if that's what you're waiting for in order to have peace on earth, and that is an impossibility, like, the risk is that it never happens. Peace on earth never happens if everyone's waiting around for the portal to open and poof, the Messiah appears. If that can't happen, and you believe that that has to happen as a prerequisite, it's just never going to happen. That's the risk of what the belief that GrimGriz is sharing.
Because if you're trying to be, then you're admitting tacitly, maybe tacitly, that you're not, because you're trying. It's the same way when you seek enlightenment. You're putting yourself in the I'm currently unenlightened, and seeking enlightenment box. It's a trap.
Yeah, so the thing you have to be careful about is delusion, right? So you can have faith and believe that you're the Messiah, and that doesn't mean you're the Messiah, right? Because in order for, like, this is my belief, in order for the Messiah to emerge, it requires that there are enough people who also believe that that person is the Messiah. It doesn't happen any other way. The Messiah does not do the work to create the kingdom of heaven and peace on earth unless there are enough people who agree that's the Messiah and that we need a Messiah. Like, otherwise, there's no difference between the person who's just out on the street with a sign saying I am the Messiah, right? And the person who is running the show such that there is actual peace on earth, right? They can be the same people, but what matters is everyone's perception of the person. It's like you can, and take any person that's doing any LARP, the President of the United States, that person could just be the person on the side of the street and holding up the sign. Like, you really could just throw Joe Biden in some clothes, give him a walker, and then just put a sticker on his back or a piece of paper that says I am the President of the United States. And he's only the President of the United States if there are enough people having faith that he is the President of the United States. So, I mean, these are really good points, and I'm glad you brought them up, GrimGriz.
That's right.
To create peace on earth, fixing the justice system, government, education. If you're interested in this stuff, get in touch. And
What about the problems your local city council is faced with? Are you helping resolve those ones?
so, as a matter of fact, there's this technology called Tube Archivist, and I predicted this technology, and I even wrote about it in my Discord server. And it basically is the key that I wanted is the ability to search video transcriptions. And then with the help of Adam and the help of Ryan Lewis, this technology has come into my awareness, and so I recently did a pull request or a change request to this open source project called Tube Archivist, which could be hosted by every city council and every classroom where we care about filtering out noise and identifying signals. And so the answer is yes, GrimGriz. What are you doing? Right? That's what I'm doing. I even talked to Adam about the idea of us having parallel governments, such that, and this isn't all my, like, when I start expressing these things, other people are contributing. Adam contributed, and the idea that emerged from that interaction was a solution where a parallel government can have representatives who go to the city council, right, who are then providing the signals, right, back to the those that the representative represents, right, and providing the signals from the community back into the city council. And so that's what a proper representative would do, and that proper representative could actually be information technology. It could be a robot, right, where each human interacts with the robot, and the robot knows the human and is able to provide signals to the human that are important, filtering out the noise, and is able to allow the human to bring signals back into the council meeting, right? So yeah, I'm working on this stuff. It's related to information technology. I've been aware of the importance of information technology since about 2007, 2006. And I've happened upon a path where I have some expertise in information technology, and I've arrived at a point where I can contribute to open source with skill. And like I said, I'm aiming for 2040. I'm not the Messiah. I'm hoping someone else is the Messiah. And I'm willing to talk about the processes by which we identify the Messiah. Because maybe the Messiah is someone who is plagued with a belief system that they can't raise up their hand and say, I'm the Messiah. Right? So maybe we have to actually run the experiments, try to be the Messiah, and figure out the right operating procedures for the church or the agency, the true church, by which we can identify the Messiah. Right? Or another way to put it, identify the most righteous individuals in existence today. It's like, it would be nice to figure that out. And I did an unlisted video to Neutrino yesterday, kind of explaining righteousness tests. And you saw Neutrino pop up there. But yeah, engage if you're interested in any of this stuff.
Those ones, perhaps.
And thank you, GrimGriz, for engaging, because obviously you're interested to some degree. And I'm not sure, I think you're being of service, and I don't know if you're doing it intentionally or not, but you are being of service. Thank you. I'm grateful. Yeah, we'll work at making it happen. We're not in a rush, and we'll make mistakes and we'll learn. So
you have made a mistake, and I hope you learn.
So when you point out the mistake, there's actually could be a process, right? What are the mistakes? So you have claims about the mistakes I'm making, and those claims could be documented into a database, and then there can be counterclaims about each mistake, right? And so I feel like I've done that. It just hasn't been formalized and systematized, which is what needs to happen to create the kingdom, right? As part of the error correction process. And so what actually happens when you point out mistakes is sometimes it allows you to do error correction as well. So it's a good process. I can do error correction and you can do error correction when we attempt to be of service to each other in the error correction process. if you engage in the error correction process without a willingness to grow and learn, and that's any party, like when you engage in that way, you're basically in the spirit of the founder, that you found the truth and you're not seeking the truth, right? So, but if you don't express some type of confidence about the things you think are truth, then you might it might be boring to the audience. And I don't necessarily care about the audience in general. I care about those among the audience who are interested in participating and creating the kingdom of heaven on earth. That's what I care about. And each person in the audience could become that person, right? And maybe it happens in 10 years for some people in the audience. But I'm not trying to, I'm not aiming at subscriber count, for example. Yeah, I appreciate you, GrimGriz. Appreciate your time and attention. I think it really does mean more than you know. But I'm suspicious of that. You might actually know. And I am grateful. All right. Bye-bye.